I just want to say before we start that this is Heather Jackson, and she's with Constant Contact, and she's just been incredibly inspirational. How many of you are just independent small business owners? Okay. How many of you sometimes feel like you're just doing it all by yourself all the time, and you're out there? And that's kind of how I felt, and one of the reasons that I became a Constant Contact certified solution provider is I feel like I'm a little bit more part of a community, and I just think that that's great. So I want to thank you for that. The other thing I wanted to ask real quickly is how many of you are active Brookline Chamber members? And of those, keep your hand up, how many of you are using Constant Contact? So those that are using it, you might want to check to see if you're getting your discount, because you get up to 25% off as a chamber member. Oh. So for those of you, you can see me afterwards and I can talk to you about how to do that. So that's it. That's all I'm going to do. And I just want to say that we all know that we're in the right spot. I feel like we're at the we're in the jet just about to take off. You're all here to hear what you need to know about digital marketing for the next 12 months, right? Okay. So you want to? I know you had some questions you wanted to ask them.
So first of all, I'm assuming we thanked the Brookline Interactive Group for hosting this amazing space.
I wanted them to be here when we thanked them.
They're going to come in, but they're going to. But if you have any questions, be sure to ask Aaron out front, and of course the Brookline Chamber. Just like to have them hosting. For those of you that aren't chamber members, I will tag on though. If you are a member of another chamber, be sure to talk to me afterwards, because we do have chamber partners, and if your chamber is a partner, we can get you that discount. And if they're not, maybe you could provide an introduction to help us get them be a partner. So anyway, just wanted to make sure you didn't feel left out if you weren't a member of the Brookline Chamber. So so my name's Heather Jackson. I'm the Regional Development Director for Constant Contact. I spend my time covering, traveling all over New England, doing educational marketing workshops on digital marketing, email marketing best practices, how to grow your list. Psyched to work with Doreen. I know she's going to be doing some of the next in this series, and I hope you'll feel like you can attend all the events, but if you can't, know that they all stand alone. You'll learn something coming from all of them. We always want somebody to take away, I want people to take away 20 different things from every event, but usually in our follow-up, we'll ask, okay, what's the one thing you took away? And when you came in, Aaron from Big was asking, okay, what brought you here, and what's the one thing you want to take away? So I saw a lot. I just looked at the questions. I saw a lot of I want to learn more about digital marketing trends, a couple of email marketing tips. There were some nonprofits that wanted some specific nonprofit tips. There were a few that were like, my boss wanted me to come. A couple, I don't do marketing, but I want to know more about it. So did I leave anything out? Somebody wanted to meet great people. We're all here. So I want to make sure, too, what I'd like to do then is just do a quick intro. We're a small enough group. Just name, company, or nonprofit, just so we know who's in the room, because I do want to facilitate some networking, and if you think there's somebody else you might want to talk to, that would be great. So could we start with you?
Yes, I'm Lee Holmeth. I own 2 Get in Shape for Women studios in Brookline.
Oh, cool.
I'm Amy Clark. I have one local idea. I do green energy.
Green energy, great.
Maria Rowley. I have a new showroom on Hammond Street called A Level Up.
And what do you show there?
Men's clothing and quarterly shows for women.
Great, okay.
I'm Jeremy Solomons. I'm kind of independent, but I work with a VC in Kendall Square, and I'm a communications and active learning expert.
We'll thread around the back.
I'm Amelia Egan. I'm the marketing director at Unlimited 70s in Brookline. We also have a location in JD.
Okay.
Susan Neymark. I'm self-employed, and I do training and consulting around racial equity and diversity, mostly with public and nonprofit agencies.
And she's one of my clients, so you can get in if you want to hear anything about her.
Doreen does my Constant Contact newsletter, among other things.
And it's the first time we've met, and we've been working together for how long?
At least a year.
Yeah, so it's the first time we actually met in person, so it's kind of cool. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Good evening, Randy Herman. I'm with Keller Williams Realty. I do residential and commercial real estate.
I'm Iris Stamberger, and I'm with the Learning Management Institute, my own company, and we do organizational development and e-learning and knowledge management for higher ed, biotech, and some nonprofit organizations.
Great.
I'm Elise Graves, and I invented a bracket for window decor, and a bag is my website. And I'm here to learn some marketing tips on how to do email marketing
Awesome.
on social media.
I'm Julia Nyack, and I run Nyack Acupuncture Clinic.
I'm Ohana Berman, and I'm a manager at Colbo Fine Judaica Gallery.
Samantha Bresci, I work at Image Unlimited, a PR firm, and I'm the digital coordinator.
Great.
I'm Danielle Sleesher, and I'm a realtor at Coldwell Banker in Kingston.
Bruce Jacobs, and we have an environmental database product.
I'm Marian Iragori, and I am here on behalf of the Beacon Inn.
Okay, great. We'll keep going around the back.
Jennifer Henning, I work at Garden House, a nonprofit assisted living in Brookline.
Sandy Bradman, this is Marcy Brower. We're partners in the business. We have a third partner too. The studio women's clothing store at Coolidge Corner. That's been there for 37 years.
Wow.
And we use Constant Contact.
Great. Thanks for coming.
I'm Katya, I work at the Brookline Arts Center.
I'm Robin. I work with the Kismet Foundation in Yarmouth, Maine, actually, a bit far away. But yeah, it's a non-for-profit, and we work with artists in interacting with the community.
Did you come all the way down from Yarmouth?
I live in Central Mass. I go up there on the weekends.
Okay.
My name is Gila Erdmusa, and I'm the marketing coordinator at the Boston Graduate School of Psychoanalysis.
I'm Sarah. I do marketing and brand development at Treat Cupcake Bar in Chestnut Hill in Needham. We're a big fan of Constant Contact. You guys order our cupcakes a lot?
Good.
Do you have any fancy yours too?
I hope so.
Nice. I'm Deborah Bradley. I have a company called Boston SEO Geeks, and I do search engine optimization.
Ted Bear, my company's Expressway Success, and I do business coaching for small business owners.
Peter Foster. I have a small bookbinding company that we do fine leather bookbinding, and we do it in 24-karat gold too, if you want, and also book restoration for rare books. So.
Very cool.
Awesome. Thanks so much.
Really great.
Yeah.
Thanks. Yeah.
Did you already introduce yourself, I'm assuming?
Yeah, Doreen Nicastro from Nicastro Consultants. I did. I already.
All right, great.
Yeah.
And I would just fill in so that you all know, I work for Constant Contact now. I've worked for them for a couple years, but prior to that, I had a business much like Doreen's where I had my own social media marketing, digital marketing, and email marketing consulting for 3 years where I worked with customers. And before that, I had my own business that was custom logoed apparel and promotional products like Cool Swag. And I was a Constant Contact customer in like 2007. So I know what it's like to, I don't want you to think of me as like a corporate person. I know what it's like to wear all these different hats all the time and be torn in so many different directions. So let me see if I can pull up. You can see our hashtag here, be a marketer. If you're going to throw anything out there, we'd love to have you do that. Yeah. It's been Constant Contacts. These are, oh geez, this is all of us. So,
I can do that again. Yeah, I don't know why it's in there.
Quick agenda. I'm talking about digital marketing trends tonight, but everything we talk about when it comes to content or how you interact with your customers, how you segment, how you make things look good on mobile, all applies to, I'm considering email marketing to be part of digital marketing. So email marketing, social media marketing, some of it's even going to apply to how you interact personally in person with people. Maybe you'll think a little bit differently about the types of conversations you have. So we just want to talk about that, and then we're saving room for Q&A. Hopefully you already had dinner, enjoyed that. I think it was Anna's Taquerias and the other sponsors. Thank you. So you have Doreen, you have me. I'm Twitter, I'm Heather K. Jackson, if you're putting anything out, and you are?
Nicastro D.
Nicastro D, okay. So Constant Contact's goal is to help everyone be a marketer. How many people in the room love marketing? Okay. How many people really don't, but feel like they need to? And it's the dreaded, okay, yeah. Love, hate, right?
Yeah.
I thought I loved it, but then it doesn't do what I want it to do. So interestingly, I just read an article that said it listed in order the things that small business people didn't like about owning their own small business. I'm applying the same umbrella to somebody running a nonprofit on their own or with a very small crew. So can anyone guess what the number one thing was?
Marketing.
No. Number one was actually the financial piece. So
Oh,
the
yeah, I could see
QuickBooks,
that.
bookkeeping,
Yeah, yeah.
right? You went into business because you're passionate about what you do. The last thing you thought you'd have to do is take somebody to small claims court to pay a bill, right? Or just all the paperwork. Marketing was number 2, though. So for those of you that don't like marketing, I don't want you to feel alone. And our goal is just to help you market a little bit more easily, to take the stress out of it, to take the frustration, to take the overwhelming piece out. I will say right now, I get totally overwhelmed by social media marketing because there's so much to do and I'm supposed to be in all these places. And listen, I still need to be scheduling workshops, need to be traveling, need to take care of my, be there for my boyfriend. I love my dog. I want to be outside. So there's a lot. I don't want you to feel like, we might have some great. I think we do have some great advice, but I don't want you to feel like we've got it all under control all the time because things are changing so fast. So these trends for 2016, they're not going to be stagnant, but definitely there's some things you want to think about that maybe you weren't thinking about 2 years ago or a year ago. That's our goal here too. So I don't think I need to tell anyone that you need to pay attention to digital marketing, right? Does everyone at least have a LinkedIn profile if you own your own business? Okay, right. Or are people using Facebook? I mean, I'm not going to do the what is everyone using. But how many people have heard of this Periscope thing?
Yeah.
Right? Like it, don't like it, but are trying to figure out how would I use that for my own business. Right? So there's a lot of different what they're calling fringe media now, where it's just all these different tools and platforms. But I think the most important thing to think about, where I come from, is that we're going back to people do business with people they know, like, and trust. Word of mouth is still far and away, according to every study, and if I asked you to raise your hand, how many people would say that word of mouth is the most powerful driver, right? So when I try to simplify it, I just think, okay, social media, all it is, it's a tool to let people refer you and say good things about you. Why it's so powerful and why you want to pay attention and why we all need to pay attention is because somebody can say something good about you. They can refer you to hundreds of people at once. Using newsletters, you can reach all of your customers at once and engage in a relationship. But again, if you just think about, I always bring it back to, okay, is what I'm going to put out there something that's going to help someone know me better, like me more, trust me more? Does that make sense? So if we bring it back to that, then it's like, okay, I don't have to get so wound up about this. I just want to remember, how can I make it easy for people to say good things about me? How can I show people I'm an expert? How can I let them inside the doors of my business? Because now I can do that using this great tool that's social media that has just a much larger, whether it's a megaphone you picture or a microphone or a speaker or whatever. But hey, it's amazing how somebody can reach 200 or 300 people with one great comment. Right? Okay. So here's an example just of digital marketing in action from farm to the tub. This is Hope. But just looking at, okay, yep, they're using Instagram, they have Facebook, they have a website, they've got email, they've got the, things looking great on mobile. Those are some things we're going to talk about. But I don't want you to feel overwhelmed because we're basically talking about building a relationship, getting people to know, like, and trust you, and taking one piece of content and repurposing it for all these platforms and reposting the same thing at different times and days to get engaged. But you don't need to be everywhere at once. You can't be. You can't all be everywhere. So how are we going to figure out where you need to be? Come on in. So what we're going to talk about in terms of some of the trends are digital marketing. Yes, you need to be there. Then we're going to talk a little bit about content marketing. And somebody had asked me, Randy had asked me, what is the biggest mistake I think most small businesses make? Well, we're going to get to that, and it revolves around content marketing. Then, to make sure that you're getting that content to the right people, we'll talk about targeting and segmentation. Finally, of course, mobile. That is so key. How are you going to make sure people can interact with you and your brand, know, like, and trust you more on mobile? And then finally, beyond big data. Big data is nothing more than analytics. It's nothing more than reports. It's nothing more than, in the context we're talking about it, it's nothing more than using what I think of as free market research on the back end to help you make better decisions, to learn what people do, respond to when it comes to know, like, and trust. All right? Okay. So digital marketing, this is kind of interesting in that this compares And I should mention, we will send out all these slides, so you don't need to write anything down. I also believe we're being recorded right now. Hello. So I'm sure they'll provide a link with access.
You'll get something, follow up.
So, but this is interesting. This looks at different types of advertising and direct media. So you have email, telephone, social media, direct mail, mobile, paid search, and web. So 5 of those 7, 5 of the top 7 are digital marketing platforms. Not surprising, right? Because they're all integrated as well. The other thing I think, and this is how I like to, why we have to embrace this thing we don't like, is that now your customers are going to choose the device that they want to interact with you on, or the platform, or the place where they want to meet you. So you need to be there. Now, I think about this sometimes in terms of personal networking. You guys are chamber members. Oftentimes chambers have breakfast, they have lunches, they have after hours. You can't always go to all of them. But some people only go to the breakfast. Some people only go to the after hours, right? So, but if you really want to find that target niche, you might want to try time to time going to all of them, and you want to be open, right? But I think about it is that, okay, you need to be sure that you are at least accessible, right? By recognizing that those users, they're going to be where they're going to be. So how can you make sure you're reaching them? Do you have anything to add?
No, I think that's great.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So this one, whoa, that's a lot, right? So how many people have checked their email today on their phones? How many people are checking it right now on their phones? Right? Or been on YouTube, been on Facebook, watched a video. How many people researched some sort of purchase decision thing they needed online? How many people use Google today? Okay, so what we're doing is, now you talk about storytelling, but we're consuming stories, we're learning. We're also capturing and consuming video and pictures. We might be trying out new social channels, so that's some of that fringe, Snapchat, Vine, Tumblr, et cetera. But you want to think about, okay, how can I engage with people and how can I make it easy? Bottom line, that's what we're going to talk about. You don't have to be doing everything. You don't have to be a photographer, a videographer, but I'm going to show you how you could do some things very simply that maybe you haven't done. So looking at all of these, I don't know why this is being kind of quirky, but I want to remind everyone. So here's a bunch of them, right? Email, Facebook, blah, 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 blah. It's not clicking right. But all of these you ultimately want to be using to drive traffic back to your website.
I don't know what they all are. Could you just...
Sure. That would be email marketing, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, probably text, mobile text.
Yeah, I think it's text.
Pinterest, mobile. Instagram, YouTube.
Yeah, it's mobile.
Yeah.
It's mobile.
So mobile marketing.
But I think you need to make that point again, because I think a lot of people are saying, do I put all my eggs in these baskets and just focus on Facebook and not worry about my website? And I think your point is these are ways into your website, and you still definitely want to have your presence because that's what you own.
Right. And you definitely can't be everywhere. I am a huge proponent, and I will, if anyone has issue, we'll talk about it. I think you're way better off doing one place right or 2 places right than being spread too thin. Because if I am a potential customer and I go and I see you haven't posted in 6 weeks, or you have that Twitter account's been dead for 2 years, I'm not going to think you're that engaged. So you want to make sure that, and we'll talk about, you only have so much time, you only have so many resources. How are you going to be where you need to be? So you can't be personally maybe at every breakfast, lunch, and dinner chamber event, but is there somebody you could get to represent you? Or is there a way you could make sure that somebody from your office is at least one of them? Good.
So just a quick question. Are you saying, for instance, if I don't use Twitter very often, I'm better off canceling my Twitter account and not being there at all?
No, I'm not saying that. Okay. I'm saying, though, you want to be consistent. Right. And each platform has different sort of rules of engagement in terms of both the type of language you use. So like Twitter's 140 characters. If you really want to make Twitter work for you, you want to be posting probably 3 to 5 times a day minimum. But that doesn't mean you can't use Twitter as a passive user and be monitoring what people are saying about you, be monitoring your competition, be learning and engaging with other people in your industry. But you're probably not going to get a very active Twitter user if they see that you tweet out once every 2 weeks. You're just going to get lost in the weeds. So you might want to think about your resources or how you could automate some things. Or ultimately, if your audience is there and you don't have the time, I think you do need to think about hiring someone or using an internal resource because it's a viable platform. I'm not saying Twitter alone is. I'm just saying, if you aren't getting social media done and you could be losing money, you might want to think about. It's like hiring that accountant or hiring your bookkeeper. You all could do QuickBooks, but it's a better use of your time to go follow your passion and hire a bookkeeper. Well, maybe it's better to hire Doreen, who crushes it, and then be able to go do what you want to do.
Would you recommend if someone does have a different platform that they are more engaged on, like Facebook or Instagram, that they automatically have that syndicated to, say, their Twitter, so it's not a dead feed?
So, great question. So the question would be, okay, so I'm very active on Facebook. Should I just automatically throw those posts out to Twitter? Because you can do that, right? Or on Instagram. I do it all the time. I have a thing on Instagram, and boom, I'm going to put it out on Facebook and Twitter. I think that's a great tool to use. I would be careful in terms of putting the very same Facebook post in that language out onto Twitter. I would use a tool like Hootsuite. Or what else do you like? TweetDeck?
Yeah, and Sprout Social.
Or there's other tools that have it's like a dashboard view that you can go and take that same picture and
tweak it a little bit. But
at worst, really, truly at worst, yeah, you probably are a little bit better off throwing that Facebook post onto Twitter. But know that people on Twitter are going to know it came from Facebook. But being there, that would be my personal take. But
I was curious how you chose the icons that you chose, and I was going to ask you about Hootsuite, if you also support Hootsuite.
I do. We do. I think most people
do
do as a time saving. No, I don't.
On his way out, and that's why it wasn't there.
No, so these, I'm throwing that out there. We started talking about automation tools. I don't have any automation tools up here per se in terms of automating your marketing, being able to schedule out, being able to take one post and send it to multiple.
And most people doing it native, like they go to each one and they do their post and they log into the other one. Or anybody using tools that allow them to do them all at once?
I'm using Buffer, Social Flow.
You're using what?
Buffer and Social Flow.
Yep, I never heard of Social. And you use Hootsuite, yeah.
Sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes, yeah.
Those are, yeah.
Hootsuite, yeah.
So those are just time-saving tools. Hootsuite's probably the most popular, or
it's definitely the most powerful. It's not as
commonly
intuitive,
used, and they have an advanced or a more enterprise version that's a paid. They have free and paid. But anyway, just using an automation tool is not a bad idea at all. But the bottom line here was that no matter which ones you have up here, and there's 40 more, you want to make sure you're using these things to drive people back to your website, because that is where you have the most robust information. That's where you have your blog post, or even if you don't have your blog post, you have more pages, more information. People can learn about you. They can sign up for your newsletter. It's kind of like it's like your website's Logan Airport, and you have all these planes flying around that are Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, whatever, right? But no one's making any money if the planes don't land at Logan and let people off and get people on. So think about that in terms of whether it's your hub or your landing place or whatever it might be. But you want to think about driving people back to your website. Okay? So then how do you know which one to use? Whew, right? So time, resources, knowledge. What do you know? What do you like? Again, I'm a big fan. If you can't stand the bookkeeping, hire a bookkeeper. If you really don't like this, you want to know maybe big picture, but maybe it's worth asking somebody on your staff what they like or what they do. Because a lot of times we all know, especially if somebody's a little younger, no offense to Doreen and myself, right? But they can do stuff super easily, super quickly. They're already on it. Why not let them do something for your business as well? And then we want to figure out, and this is the tough part, but where is your audience? How can you figure out where they are so you know where you need to be? So a couple of my favorite tactics when it comes to, so this is like the jump on the trend. We'll come back to this for each section, but where is your audience today? If you're not sure, ask them. So asking them is one great way. Use your newsletter, send out a survey. Certainly on your website, you want to ask people to like you. Probably start with Facebook for Business. But depending upon, if you're a real estate agent, are your people on other real estate-based sites? If you're a contractor, are they on House? If you're an interior designer, or if you are I know there were a couple people in women's clothing, men's showrooms, whatever. I would imagine your audience is on Pinterest. That doesn't mean you have to be a mega uber Pinterest user. It means you probably want to figure out how to make sure you're engaging with them, figuring out what they're interested in. Another great way to do that, so you have demographic profiles. Another thing to do is to actually, let's say you're not very active in a couple places. Go to those sites, and I'd start with Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn. I'd go to Instagram and Pinterest. Those would be probably the top 5. Clearly, the mother lode of all, you want to Google yourself. All these, what I want to get to this is to see what your people are saying about you, your customers. So you start with Google, right? And then, and go see where people are. I was talking to a restaurant the other day. He was like, well, I'm not using Instagram. Do you think I should be? And I'm like, I don't know. Let's search your restaurant. And there were like 200 posts
from his restaurant,
from people that came into his restaurant and had taken pictures and were tagging him, whatever. So he's like, you know what? Wow, that is far more engagement in the past month than I've had on Facebook through my organic ads, through my organic posts. So he just said, all I'm going to do to start with is just go say, heart the post, like the post, whatever, and say, hey, wow, thanks. Great picture. That was it. So it wasn't that he started taking a bunch of pictures or creating content, but he went and made sure that where people were giving him the shout out, he at least was acknowledging and interacting. So you might want to do that with your own company. You might want to do that with your competition. Take your number one competitor and just search them. And that will give you a good feel. You might say, you know what, no one's talking about us on Twitter and no one's talking about our biggest competitor. This obviously isn't the place that audience is hanging out. But holy cow, I had no idea there were 200 posts or tags of my business on Instagram. So that's where I would start if you feel like you can't get information from your customers. The other thing I love this with gathering data, right? Don't be afraid. You don't have to ask people in a formal way by survey. When you interact with your customers, you can say, hey, personally, where do you hang out online? What's your favorite social media site? Maybe they surprise you, maybe they don't. But don't be afraid to be when you're behind the counter or somebody's coming in to get a consultation from you, or you're showing houses and you're driving around in the car to go see the cool listings, you have time to say, geez, what social media sites are you on? What are your kids on? Why do you like them? Don't be afraid. I think that personal data can be the most valuable. Anything else to add to that?
That's good.
Right? And then, thinking about what's next. I talked about it. If you don't have the time, think about, okay, how can you use other tools? Maybe they're automation, or how can you find resources, people like Doreen, or, people that that might want to help out. Okay. So content marketing, this is the one that gets me fired up. I almost want to stand up, but I'm going to keep it down. Yeah. So here's a highfalutin content marketing is a strategic marketing approach focused on creating, distributing, blah, blah, blah. Valuable, relevant, consistent. Just remember that. To drive a profitable customer action, so a call to action. And profitable doesn't have to be profitable today. It means moving someone down that path of becoming a customer. But here is the number one mistake I see small businesses and nonprofits make. It is, and I made it myself for many years, it is just putting out content, putting out a newsletter, putting out a post, that is not valuable to the end user. It's everything I want to talk about, how amazing my products are, how great my customer service is, how we're having this sale, how here's a coupon, but it doesn't do anything for the end user as far as how they're going to live their life today. Like, it's not helping them make a decision more easily. I might think it is because I'm like, well, this product's so perfect. You should get it. That's a decision you don't have to make, I'm telling you. But you're not really helping them live their life a little easier. And I like to think about, too, is valuable and relevant. Relevant's going to speak to some targeting and segmentation. But if you could pound this into your head, it would be right for your audience, not for you. So, again, we'll get into it a little more, but it's sort of like, the easiest thing to do is answer their questions. What's the number one question you get that you just can't believe you got again today? You get it so often it annoys you. Well, answer it and put that out there and make that be your blog, which then you turn into your newsletter content, your social media post, etc. How can you help someone make or avoid a mistake? And this all goes, if we bring it back, content marketing. Everything you should put out as far as content marketing, and by content marketing I mean a post, a newsletter, a conversation. It should be about how can I help someone get to know me better, like me more, trust me more. And none of us knows, likes, or trusts somebody that just keeps throwing at us, yep, on sale, on sale, on sale, buy, 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 hire, 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 donate, 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 right? It doesn't mean you don't need people to buy from you or hire you or donate or volunteer. But if that's the only message we're sending out, even though it's so important to us and we're under pressure, you're not going to develop that long-term relationship. All right? So here's a couple. 50% of purchase decisions made before a customer talks to a supplier, so that's that online research. How about this one? By 2020, customers will manage 85% of their relationship without interacting with a human in person. It doesn't mean there's not a human on the end of that content. It just means we're going to learn about a company, and we're going to see what our friends say and our colleagues say and the people we trust. We're going to see what they say about them through reviews, through comments, through online, through in person. So that content marketing is what's helping you build that relationship. Okay. So this might be a little out there for you. Again, Doreen and I, we didn't put together this, but our content guy likes to think about content marketing as a dance, right? It's constantly fluid, constantly moving, but we talk about your audience, your agony, the 1-2, cha-cha-cha. And we're going to talk about who's your audience, what are their pain points, how do you attract them so that they want to read what you have to say to help them address that agony. How can you be aligned, and then how can you get them to do that call to action? And the call to action is in your newsletter. It's click here to visit our website. Click here to learn more. Click here to read more. Call us at this number. Click here to email us. Those are all calls to action. It doesn't have to be by today. It can be, but it doesn't have to be. Okay. So we talk a little bit about the audience. You want to know, who are you trying to reach? Let me get back to this. And then understanding who you're trying to reach. How can you make sure that the way you talk to them is going to be valuable and relevant? So you could think about, how would you explain quantum physics? I don't know, can anyone in the room explain quantum physics? Right? How would you explain your business? How would you explain the biggest challenge that your customers face to, your mom, your partner, a kid? I like to think about it like, how would you explain it to the person sitting right next to you? How would you explain it to your neighbor? Like, bring it down to somebody that you want them to understand what you do. You want them to, again, know, like, and trust you. And then you want to use that language to address your customers. Again, answering questions, having a top 5 tip sheet, top 10 tip sheet. Randy, we were talking about this same as content marketing, and he was talking about how a gentleman at a home show next to him had a book, free book, on how to choose the right contractor. And it was, avoid this scam, don't fall for this ploy, and by the time you got to the end of the book, of course, the only contractor you'd want to hire was the guy that wrote the book on it, right? But it doesn't have to be, that's a great tactic though. in that he was providing that information on how to avoid making mistakes, what to consider, what to look for. You guys all could talk about that. For nonprofits. So who are the nonprofits? I know a couple. Right. So you want to make sure that you are speaking specifically to, or making sure that, again, it's not just donate, not just join, not just come give us money, right? But you need that to keep moving forward. But how can you how could you help people, whether they're volunteers or donors or attend the annual golf tournament, how can you help them understand more about your nonprofit? Like, know, and trust. So you show them volunteers in action. You show them what you've been able to do with their money. Has everyone seen one of those where it's like, I just was walking outside of a YMCA, and it was like $25 gets drawing supplies for 10 kids, for this class. $200 gives 4 kids swimming lessons for 6 months. And so it was that whole, here's exactly what that $200 does, so that you could relate to it and feel like, oh, I know exactly what that's going to. Okay. So this is an important piece, too, is the agony. So what are those pain points of the person? And if anyone in this room is hot, I am triply hotter than you are right now. But what are they facing today? So again, think about it in terms of if your target audience is moms of kids ages, with kids who are teenagers, their pain points are, what if you found and it doesn't even have to be about your business, you found an awesome article on how to deal with teenage kids who think you know nothing. Or the challenges, I just was listening to a great podcast coming up here about how do teenage girls deal with social media and the pressures. So it could be anything that speaks to the pain point that mom might be feeling. I was dealing with a real estate agent who specialized, and again, think about this pain point is, how can you think about making your business or your content a little more niche? A couple real estate agents in the room, right? Of course, you would like to sell every house you could. You'd like every listing probably. How can you actually, but what would be the impact instead of saying, yep, any listing, any house I want to sell, any house I want to show you, any buyer I want to work with? What if it was like, yep, I specialize in single family homes for first-time home buyers in suburban Boston, right? You're going to get to be known that person. I specialize in waterfront condos for whatever, or I specialize in, great backyards. I don't know, I'm throwing it out there. I worked with a woman who said, yep, I live on Cape Cod, I specialize in downsizing older people into condos or smaller homes. So who is her target audience? It's the actual older couple or older people being downsized, as well as the children who might be helping to make that decision or having to. So she sends out awesome articles, and she's got them segmented by the kid, but she sends out articles on how to deal with Alzheimer's. She sends on articles on, hobbies that are easy for, or looking at, just sends out articles that reach that pain point. Does that make sense? So it doesn't have to do with, here's a great listing. It's gotta get your pain. How to deal with parents who don't want to move. So she shows them, and again, that gets people to know, like, and trust her more. So any way that you can understand that pain point and then solve it or give somebody an idea is going to get them to know, like, and trust you better, all right? And that being said, of course, then you need to attract them. You need to get their attention and point them to the next step. So you need to have an awesome subject line or header for your blog post. You need to find that content. You don't have to write it. You could certainly, if you come across an article, right? For some of you nonprofits, I would love, as somebody who volunteers a bit, I would love the article that tells me how not to overcommit, but just to commit to your nonprofit, right? But what are some of the things that what are the mistakes people make? How do you choose the right nonprofit to volunteer for? And then figuring out, obviously, where to find your audience. We talked about that. And then this is, again, we talked about it. That mistake is not providing the educational value. Here's some other ideas for you. And think about this know, like, and trust piece. This is what it comes back to. What about you take a 20-second video on your phone and you interview some of your volunteers and say, hey, why do you love working for this nonprofit so much? Or you interview your staff, why do you love working for this business? Or what do you do when you're not working? Or you do it to yourself, or you get a testimonial. So there's some little video pieces. Some of the best content I've seen, and newsletters now, by the way, if I give you another great tip on newsletters, less is more. You lose a third of your audience with every swipe on the mobile phone. So it's like one picture, 2 to 3 lines, and that call to action. 2 to 3 sentences, and that call to action. You don't have to have an awesome picture of your product. It could be an amazing sunrise on your way to work. It could be an inspirational quote that you found somewhere else. It could be, I work with a guy who's a business coach, in fact, and he has great business, planning, goal setting, finding your passion advice. But he has one little section that's an inspirational quote from someone, and then the link is, the call to action is, click here to see more quotes from Tony Robbins or whoever it might be. That gets the highest clicks regularly of all of his newsletters. So you can inspire people, you can educate them, inform, obviously, connect. I'll throw out there, you might want to write these down too, for using pictures. There's a couple sites I really like. Canva is one. PicMonkey is another. Canva has stock photos, so let's say you don't have awesome photos on your phone because you haven't taken any yet, but you can actually take stock photos and overlay text. So you take that quote that motivates you every day and you put it over the picture of an awesome mountain setting. Visuals, I just can't say enough about videos and pictures, all right? And you want to have that call to action. Click here to see more quotes. Click here to visit. Click here because that is going to tell you what people are interested in, what you're doing right, and it's also going to. It's also showing you that engagement. Okay. Okay. So then we just talked about that, taking the action, and then I like this last piece. How many people have somebody that maybe hasn't bought something, but they've opened your email in a year? I mean, how many people have that story? I've heard of a story where, yeah, this woman got my newsletter for a year and then finally signed a bot from me, whatever. I just was talking to a financial planner. She had no clue who this woman was, somehow got on her email list, and a year and 4 months later, gave her money to manage. So don't think that it's, terrible to keep staying in touch and providing that content because you might hit them at the right time, right? Don't forget that, especially with email, it's such a great way to stay top of mind. At a minimum, somebody's going to see your name and your subject line.
I have to really say that that's true because I don't know if you feel that way, that you're sending them out and you might look at your click-throughs or how many people opened, but when you get there and you start talking to people, I just happened to see someone, and I know I send them my emails all the time, and they happened to say to me, that last email you sent me, I really liked that article. And I was like, oh, that's nice. But you don't always get that. It's not that they're replying back. So I do agree with that. And it is a numbers game. You just got to keep, it's that drip, 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 right. Because you want to be top of mind in that event when that moment comes. I just came into some money. That woman that's been sending me those emails, that kind of stuff, yeah.
So jumping on the trend, making sure you know who your audience is, get their pain points and solve their pain points. Be an educator and be honest. I don't think I spoke to that one yet. One of the best, this guy named Marcus Sheridan. Has anyone heard of him? He was a guy that ended up on the cover of the Wall Street Journal, and he sells pools, but he was the first guy to use his website as an educational and informational tool. He just answered 100 questions. Answered a question every single day that had to do with pools. So when people were searching for what type of pool to buy, this is a few years ago, but he had fresh content, but he also said if you want, here's the benefit to an in-ground pool versus a lined pool. Here's what we do. If you want this option, here are 3 people to call. So he was very honest because not everyone wants exactly what you're selling. And if they want an alternative or they want to talk to someone else, the best thing you can do is give them a good referral and to be honest. So don't be afraid. And also don't be afraid. The other thing I say is don't be afraid to give away the farm. Just because you are an amazing chef and you put your awesome recipe out there doesn't mean that all of a sudden I think I'm a great chef, right? or just because you're a lawyer and I was working with a lawyer who found this awesome article on immigration law that affected her customers. She was on the vineyard. This law was going to affect how people could house and hire summer staff. She's like, well, I don't know if I want to put that out there because people are going to read it. It's so easy to read that they're not going to call me. I'm like, I don't think anyone reading that article all of a sudden fancies themselves a lawyer, right? And if they have to house and pay people coming from abroad, they're just going to say, wow, you really do know about immigration law. So the more you give away the farm and don't hold back, the more people are going to trust you and see that you know what you're talking about. Give you another great example. I was working with a plumber, and they actually put out at Thanksgiving time, it was the top 10 ways to avoid clogging your disposal. How awesome is that? Because one, it was really valuable information. Two, think about this, they don't really want to be out there on Thanksgiving unclogging disposals. It's not high margin business. They want to be with their own family. And what happened was they want to do, bathroom, kitchen remodels. They want to do big stuff. Sure enough, 2 bids they had out there. They had 2 bids out there of people who received the newsletter. Both of them contacted and said, wow, you seem really trustworthy. Like verbatim, you seem trustworthy. Thanks so much for that information. I'm going to hire you. The other one was independent, but at Thanksgiving they put a little blurb about a nonprofit they love, and these people came back and said, wow, we love that nonprofit too. We'd like to talk to you more. So that's showing people know, like, trust, showing them your personality, being authentic. You just can't go wrong. I'm not saying, personalize it too much. You want to keep it professional, but talking about things that are important to you as a business or for your staff, again, I just think you have that ability to build a relationship. All right, and that's this whole dance. It's just a dance. Any questions so far? Okay. So targeting and segmentation. That speaks to providing that valuable, relevant information to an interested audience. You're better off having a small interested audience that's engaging with you than having 5,000 people on your email list with no one answering the door, okay? Because and this speaks back to that, like why it's so important to treat the people that you're engaged with and to keep giving them content, why that's so important is because they're going to refer you. They're the ones that are going to say good things about you, going back to that word of mouth. So there's a bunch of different ways you might segment people. And it might be obvious to you. You have regular customers, seasonal, VIPs. You might have commercial. You might have residential. You might have, obviously, nonprofits. You're going to have volunteers, donors, board members, different annual events people attend. You're the pet store. You have the cat lovers, the dog lovers, the horse lovers, the bird lovers, right? Does everyone think of 5 ways they might segment their own list?
I just ask if people have segmented lists.
Okay, if you don't, this is one of those tips that you might not have been thinking about so much, or if you were a year or 2 ago, it is so much more critical now. Because remember, that email, that post is 1 picture, 2 to 3 sentences, and a call to action. So you don't have to spend all that time taking your quarterly newsletter and putting it into a thing. You don't have to take if you have a big monthly one, I strongly suggest you think about either chunking it out and sending it a little more regularly. You can train your audience to expect that, and they'll be happy. If they can get through it much more quickly and not feel like they have to scroll through this whole thing, they'll take it every other week versus once a month. By the same token, you could take that same time, or that person you hire could use that same time because they're not creating this long thing, and segment out the information for the dog people to the dog people, the information for the cat people to the cat people. And I know, and this is the other, we all don't want to turn down any business, and we want to say, well, yeah, but maybe they have people they know that like cats, even though they're a dog person, and they want to refer it. The more you can niche it down and the more you can speak to being specialized and get that engagement, somebody's going to think of you. If you have that pet shop, they're like, well, they have a pet shop. I don't know about the cat stuff they send out, but they do great dog, right? They're going to refer you for that. Go ahead.
The other thing, I know in coaching, a lot of people resist the niching. And it's about the marketing. It's not necessarily about who you work with. It doesn't mean you're going to if you focus on dog people, it doesn't mean you're going to turn down a cat person.
Precisely.
Right, but your
Exactly.
marketing is targeted, and you're saying social media, and then somebody's cat, what is that? This is how they
Well,
do the animals, let me call.
It's not just the social media. It's how you. This is like a bigger business concept, but how do you present yourself as a content marketing? Boom. How do you niche that? We were working with. Actually, heard this great speaker talk about his wife, who was a college counselor, like helps keep people get into the right schools. But her passion was she had dealt with some special needs kids and figured out, wow, she really took to that. And so instead of being, it's like on her SEO, instead of it saying, college counseling, get your kid into the right school, it was like college counselors specializing in kids with special needs. And her business has gone through the roof because what do you think people are searching for? Right? They want the specialist. You want because you're going to trust that person almost immediately. You're going to trust them as an expert a little bit, right? Because they're specializing in that, so they must deal with it. It doesn't mean she's not going to work with other kids getting into college. It just means she has set herself apart. How can you set yourself apart by having that niche? So segmenting, I think, is sort of part and parcel to that same concept. And I want to talk a little bit about, okay, so this is obvious, like, we all get a lot. This says 264. That might be like 264 direct ads, but I think the number of impressions we get, I thought was like 3,000 our brains trying to process in terms of brands and messaging and billboards and TV and YouTube and all that. But so it's all jumbled up, right? So it all just sounds like noise. So you don't want to be part of the noise. Targeting and segmentation are going to reduce that noise factor because I know you're speaking directly to me. Okay, so so the other thing I wanted to speak to on that was that, we'll get to that. Okay, so 40% of customers buy from retailers who personalize. So let's talk about personalization. Has anyone, right? So 40% of customers will buy more, 50% of customers are more likely to shop with, 76% of customers will share personal information, this is key, if they think they're going to get a better experience. Okay, so how many people have purchased on Amazon? Right, and you have an account, you log in, it says, hello, Heather in the top corner, and then that personalization is something like you click on a product and it says, oh, people who liked this also bought that. That's personalization, right? Personalization is also, I've seen some amazing, personalization, by the way, is also if you have a greeting in your email newsletter that says, happy holidays, Doreen. Happy holidays, Heather. How you customize that greeting, that's personalization. Just to let you know, it doesn't have to be like super crazy technical. It's personalizing something so they feel like they're getting that experience. It's also asking them what their preferences are. So it doesn't have to be by name. But if I'm only interested in condos, I don't want to look at houses. Personalizing an email for me is sending me just things that have to do with condos. Condo living, how to have a garden in a condo, how to have your herbs in a condo. Also, here's our newest condo listing, right? It's okay, obviously, to put a little, at some point you're going to promote your business. 80-20 is the rule. But if you can personalize that for me, and that's where, I think, like, how many people feel like just the invasion of privacy is crazy?
Yeah.
You search for a pair of shoes, and that pair of shoes follows you around through your email, onto websites. Right, a year ago, February break, we rented a house in Captiva for my boyfriend and his buddy and all the kids, whatever. To this day, I'm still getting, you want a house in Captiva? I'm like, no, that wasn't right. But that stuff follows you around. So that's personalized. That can be annoying, but hey, at least I'm getting something. I appreciated that when I was in the hunt. Also, I am certainly willing to share information about myself if it keeps me from getting totally irrelevant things that I have no interest in. If you're a vegetarian, wouldn't you be willing to share that you're a vegetarian so that you don't keep getting ads for Omaha Steakhouse, right? Same concept is that you can help provide that personalized experience for your end user by segmenting your list and giving them just the information that would be relevant to them, or at least highlighting and promoting the information relevant to them. Then down in the fine print, you say, we also, here's your dog information, we also love cats, birds, horses, and we just have some fresh ducklings in, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, so this speaks about asking them, but also, you can use the information that you ask them about to create segmented lists, to have better social media promotions, to use autoresponders with discount offers. Does everyone know what an autoresponder is?
I'm just going to ask that. So why don't we talk about
Sure.
that? Yeah.
So my favorite example of, and I want to go back to, and we'll talk about a little bit in data, but you can also identify what people are interested in based upon what they click on, based upon those calls to action that you put out there that they click on. So maybe Randy doesn't know that I only want to hear about condos, not full houses, but he could send an email out and there's 2 different pictures. It says, which do you like? And I click on the condo, or maybe I'm only in, he could take people that click on condos and tag them as people interested in condos, and then just send those specific people information on, again, you'd want to be condo living, things that have to do with living in a condo, pros and cons, or what to look for, but also your other listings. Does that make sense? So you could tell them not just by what people verbally tell you, but what do their actions tell you, okay? So an autoresponder, my favorite example is a birthday card. So has everyone gotten at least once an email that says, Dear Debbie, happy birthday, take 10% off your next purchase of sunglasses at Sunglass Hut, or come in and get a free coffee, or that is an autoresponder. Somebody is not sitting at a desk saying, oh, it's Debbie's birthday, time to send an email. They know her birthday, they've gathered the birthday information and have what do we call an autoresponder program set up so that on her birthday, an email automatically goes out. So an autoresponder is working for you while you're doing something else. Another example of an autoresponder that's an easy one to sort of get your arms around would be a subscription or membership based. You could also use it as a nonprofit if you, with regard to like annual donations. So I donate on June 10th, and on May 10th, I get an email from that nonprofit that says, hey, thanks so much for your donation last June. Just love to let you know if you wanted to donate again, here are 4 things you could, specify your money for, or whatever it might be. But it's giving me that, it's specific to the time I donated, not just getting blasted every week, donate, 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 donate. Mm-hmm. Or you joined on a specific date, and your membership is going to expire in a month. We want to give you the chance to renew now with, before the price goes up, or whatever it might be. Or it expires in a month, you send another one, yep, it's going to expire in 2 weeks, 1 week. So those are some examples. Some people call them a lead nurture or a drip campaign. But the concept is that you start to sort of do that dance or talk to someone. You start to educate them. Maybe you have 5 things you need to know about working with a real estate broker. And you send somebody one thing, one piece of advice, one educational piece each week. So you pre-create those 5 emails. I meet Randy at an event. He says, hey, I have this awesome series about, 5 things you need to know. Would you be interested in learning? Yeah, absolutely. Here's my card. I go to the list, and then that next day it says, hey, thanks so much for signing up. Here's your first tip. And then a week I get a second tip, and a week I get a third. I join on a Monday. Doreen meets Randy at a different event. They have the same conversation. She gets added to the list on Thursday. Her first email comes Friday, and then the next Friday, the next Friday, the next Friday. So it doesn't matter. It's not set. The autoresponder is sent based on a specific number of days or weeks, or after somebody joins, or on a specific date like a birthday or a anniversary. Does that?
Yeah.
Anything else you
So
want to add?
can you see how you would be able to use it in your own business and stuff? Yeah.
Thank you. I look forward to
Yeah. Good luck with the video education program. So, right, and
Thanks for
then
coming.
using that information, how do people click on your discount offers, or how do they click on promotions, or how do they based on their actions, you then can create customer and VIP events or VIP lists. You can create loyalty programs. So you can provide better customer service. A great example of this was I was working with a spa, and they had did their usual, and actually it was the time of year when the voting was open on the Best of Cape Cod magazine. So I know they all have the Best of Boston voting here, right? Where anyone can go on and vote. So they had put a link that said, hey, love to have you vote for us. Here's the link specifically to the spa and salon section. So it didn't just take them to the front page of the Best of Cape Cod. I took them to the specific section. Now, they have no idea what people said about them when they left, but there's a pretty good chance if somebody actually took the time to click out of that newsletter to go to the Best of Cape Cod and vote, they probably, more likely than not, were part of their VIP, somebody they'd want to treat like a VIP. So we actually took that list. We didn't say thanks for voting because we didn't want to be too big brotherish, but sent out a list to that segmented small group that said, just want to thank you for your consistent support of the salon. Please take 10% off your next visit, or bring a friend, whatever it might be. Mm-hmm. So it was a really great way to use people's behavior as an indicator of, or as a way to segment and build loyalty. And how cool do you think it is? Maybe one of those people said to their buddy, hey, I just got 10% off at Cosmetique just for being a loyal customer. That's nice. Does that make sense? But it wasn't like we just sent that to everyone. It was based on demonstrated behavior. Mm-hmm. Okay. So look at your contacts. How could you create segmented lists? A great way to do that, if you don't, like I'm thinking about their list and like, how would I do that? I can't go by 5,000 people. I'm not going to go through one by one. You can use an update profile form. So if you're using Constant Contact, that's right in the account, where you can actually say, hey, I want to make sure you want to keep getting these newsletters from us. Also, it's your birthday, because I'm going to start that cool autoresponder campaign for birthdays. Also, here are the lists, and you'd have to change the list names to make sure they're forward-facing, but Doreen can help you if this is something you'd want to do. But you could say, hey, we think you still want to get information about dogs, cats, and birds. Is this accurate or not? And if they've changed, here's the other interests we have. Or we think you still want to get volunteer information. We think you still want to attend the annual golf event. So you can allow people to self-select through an update profile form. Not everyone's going to open it, not everyone's going to fill it out, but it's going to give you a head start on that. Anything you'd like to add to that?
No.
Okay. And then looking at how to automate your marketing, autoresponders are a way you do it with email. Hootsuite is something we mentioned earlier. That's how you would do it with social media posts or Buffer or using Facebook Schedule, but thinking about scheduling. And then thinking about how would you have special offers for different segments, or how would you provide that specific educational content. Okay. So I'm going to blast through this because does anyone think that mobile hasn't changed how we run our lives? Right? So the question I always get is, when's the best time to send an email? Well, it used to be Tuesday through Thursdays between 10:30 and 4:30, because that's when people are at their computers, at their desk, in the right mindset. Now it could be any time, because people are checking their emails all the time. This says 51, over 60% of emails are opened on a mobile device. I believe that over 50% of Facebook users use Facebook exclusively. Obviously, things like Instagram, that's pretty much totally mobile-based. 150 times per day, the average person looks at the phone. The other stat I like that will mortify you probably is, well, not mortify, I'll give you the easier one, is I think it takes the average person like 9 minutes. I'll do it the other way. It takes the average person an hour and a half to realize they've lost their purse. It takes them 9 minutes to realize they've lost their mobile phone, right? So I even think it's like it takes them longer to realize they've left their kid in the car than to realize they've left their mobile phone, but it might be in bad taste. So obviously mobile's so key, right? It's changed our behavior. I think the most important thing that this next piece talks to is local search and information. We are on our phone when we're trying to find a place to buy, visit, go to. So my advice on this one would be make sure you have your Google location claimed and your information is correct. Because when somebody searches for your business, especially if you're somewhere somebody might go in, I am not even going to your website. I'm looking at that Google result. Here's the phone number. Here's the website, the directions. They're open today, 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. You want to make sure that you have that right. Local search and listings, okay? The other thing you just want to make sure of is that your website is mobile responsive. So if somebody's trying to find something to look for products, services, information, you have that right. That then speaks to, you also want to make sure that your newsletter is mobile responsive. So if you use Constant Contact and you haven't updated your template in the last probably 10 months, you probably don't have a mobile responsive template. Okay. If you don't have a mobile responsive template, 75% are going to delete, 30% are going to unsubscribe when email doesn't look good. So I'll explain responsive, because you might have heard mobile friendly versus mobile responsive. So mobile responsive actually means that the images and the text blocks rearrange based upon the device you're using and actually the orientation. So specifically, an easy way to think about it is on your desktop, or if you had a tablet and it was horizontal, you might have 3 pictures across. When you take that tablet or your mobile phone and you flip it to the vertical alignment, it's actually going to stack those pictures on top of each other. Or if it's picture and text, it's going to stack the picture and text. Bottom line is, the program itself, or the template itself, is going to make your site or template or email look as good as it possibly can, depending upon the device. So if you haven't got a mobile template, either search for one yourself, just type in responsive, because responsive is the key word, or Doreen in her follow-up will actually send an offer or link to help you facilitate that. Okay? So that's key. So these mistakes, no-brainer, right? You don't want to have too much text. I'm sorry. Usually it's the nonprofits affected, but if you have multiple columns, your emails do not look good on mobile.
They just don't.
Very difficult to read, and somebody is probably, you know, in this day and age, even if you think you want to come back to an email, you're probably not going to. It's when you get there. So again, we can give you some advice for how to take that. I mean, you have a lot, I know, especially nonprofits, but we have some advice for how to make sure you're in a mobile responsive template. And again, if you have a lot to say, highlight, promote, feature that piece of content that is going to be most relevant and most valuable to the largest part of your audience. So you might have an event that you're like, I gotta promote this event because I want to get more people there. It's the most important thing to me. But if it's not the thing that's going to provide the most value to sort of the majority of your audience, you don't want to promote that. You want to put out there, again, you want to help people know, like, and trust, and say good things about you by providing them with valuable information. So if you're sitting there saying, I have 3 things, pick the one that the most people are going to want to hear about or learn from or be helped by. So obviously, you know, not properly formatting your image, having too tiny fonts. You want to have the call to action, again, way above the scroll line. All these things are handled by a mobile responsive template. You don't even really need to worry about it. If you want to see if your template's mobile responsive, or if you want to see how your email looks, like as a stopgap, we just would always recommend that you send that preview to yourself, check it on your desktop, check it on a mobile phone, just to make sure it looks good before you actually schedule it to go out. All right? This is sort of an interesting stat. So based on a Social Media Today survey, 70% of people do like getting coupons. You also can use Facebook promotions. But I like to think about, too, is, again, you talk about rewarding people. These coupons don't have to be things that are necessarily super high-tech. Scannable, you know, barcode, blah, 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 that you have to have some big machine to know how to work, right? You can actually think about, you've got your segmented audience. Again, this just says, bring this thing in, show your mobile phone, and get 10% off a cookie. I want to bring it even a little, just another word of advice as you're getting people to know, like, and trust you and engaging with those people that do mention you. If somebody says something great about you or your business on social media, which you want to encourage, right? Because that's word of mouth. If they say, how many people have like Yelp or get TripAdvisor or review-based sites? So an amazing thing you can do is if somebody takes the time to give you a good review, it's just in the response back. Like you can do a reply back directly. You don't have to make it public facing. You can say, wow, that was awesome. Love to give you 10% off a free something. I just had this happen with me where I gave a review on Yelp for a coffee shop. They emailed and said, wow, thanks so much. Have a free dessert on us next time. Now, I'm probably not gonna, trying to be good this year. Maybe the dessert isn't what brings me in, but just them being so nice, I was like, oh, when I have a choice of what coffee shop to go to, which one do you think I'm going to? Maybe I get the dessert and maybe I don't, but it made me feel so appreciated for taking that time. So I think you can't sort of, when people take time to give you a review or comment or be a power user or be a VIP, you really, you don't have to give away the farm. She didn't have to give me a free lunch, but just, hey, here's a little something. How far is that going to go? And I'm not talking about it to all of you.
So how do
you ask them?
Right. Okay, it's in Rhode Island, outside of Providence, next to an old mill. I know just where it is. I don't know the name, but it was really delicious.
How do you get people to give you positive reviews? You said ask them, but
yeah. If you have a place where people come in on your website, in your newsletter, in your place of business, I would print it out on an 8.5 by 11 and say, our business thrives on word of mouth, or we're built on referrals. Please say, please give us a review on Yelp or whatever.
I think the more specific you can be, I worked with a nonprofit that wanted to raise some money to take a group. They're Acupuncturists Without Borders. And what I said to her was, well, what are you asking for? We're asking for money. Well, I understand that, but like, what kind of money? Do you want $1? Do you want $10? Do you want $100? What are you asking? And I said, why don't you put a specific ask in there? And so she wound up putting $10, and people came back and said, oh no, I'll give you $100. So I think the more specific you can be in your ask, and maybe even give an example as to why you're asking, the better it's going to be. It's going to resonate with them. So that's just, I think, the more specific you can be, too.
Sure. So if Facebook is where you have the most engagement, ask for a review on Facebook.
Yeah.
Great point. All right, so a couple other things, and these are things you want to ask people to do, is to opt in to, again, this is an in-person sign of asking people to like you on Facebook, sign up for your newsletter, right? You definitely want to have on your website and in person and in maybe your email signature, you want to make it easy for people to sign up for your newsletter. But mobile is also a great way to ask people to check in, because if I see that my friends were at your place, I don't even have to get the review. I'm probably going to think it was good, or I might message them right then. Hey, here you're down the street. What are you doing? I'll come right down. Right.
So we could all check in now here to Big and...
We could.
Yeah.
And then again, this was in a pickle. This was a guy that ended up pretty much like abandoning Facebook and going to Instagram because of all the people that were engaging with him on Instagram at zero cost. Yes, he did end up developing quite, a lot of his own content and driving it. But to begin with, it was all just responding and engaging with people that had already posted great pictures. So a lot of times you don't necessarily need to create this content. And if you don't want to, again, encourage your staff, your customers, people that come in, I think it almost becomes second nature for people that are on social media all the time, right? I just took a picture out there. It was a great turnout. You're thanking the chamber, thanking Big, thanking Anna's Taqueria, boom. We don't even think about it anymore, right? Or I should say.
Yeah.
My boyfriend's kids have got it. They're on Snapchat and they're not thinking about that either. Which they should, but
that's another whole session,
right? So the other thing is there are mobile advertising options. I think this speaks to me. You don't need to be having a Pinterest cinematic pin if you don't want, but there's cool different ways to personalize experiences and places. But pretty much if you're going to use social media, you really want to consider it's sort of a pay to play now. So it started out free, then they went to paid, people get wound up, but really it's like any advertising where you have the ability to segment into very, very specific demographic niches, which is awesome. You can go on Facebook and target only people who live in Brookline, who are between 25 and 35 that have an interest in fashion. So you can get very, very specific. So looking at mobile, I think you just want to make sure your website's responsive, your template's responsive. Don't be afraid to try sending a coupon that people could come in and just show you their phone or use. Obviously, there are cases where somebody might abuse it, but I think in most cases you can do that. And then, so some of this, or the social media consultants, I know you do SEO. Did anybody else work with customers? Doreen, obviously, on social media, or mobile. Here's a great way for you to layer some services in. Okay. And then finally, this is an easy one for everyone. So I don't know if you can read this, but it says, we found this correlation in the data. Everyone take a razor, right? And it shows that the more shaved heads there are, the more sales, right? So data, though, isn't important for data's sake. How many people love looking at the numbers? Okay, wow, I get it. It's important for helping to ask better questions and make better decisions, but it's not just important to have. So we want to look at this, again, as that free market research. What are people responding to? What are they clicking on? What am I doing right? What am I not doing right? How can I get better information? So it's everywhere, obviously, demographics, in-person and online point of sale, event registration. So the digital fingerprints, that data is people liking, sharing, the open rates, the click rates. I want to tell you, do not be romanced by your open rate on your newsletter. You really want to think about what's the click rate. Again, that's that engagement, okay? So here's examples of if you use Google Analytics, that's a great free tool for your website. Obviously, your email is going to tell you who opened, who clicked, who unsubscribed, what exactly did they click on, and then social media also has amazing analytics. I think if you're not looking at your analytics, pick one. Don't decide to look at all these all the time, but pick one and just start to monitor it. Don't worry about yourself versus the industry. Look at yourself versus yourself and the trends that you see. Because you really, this data all matters because it's generating revenue and donations. It's telling people, again, what you're doing right, and hopefully it's leading to people learning people getting to know, like, and trust you more. People being able to say good things about you and drive business your way more. Whether it's, takes website visits or calls or whatever first, they might not do it today, but they're going to do it down the road. And if they're engaging, that's a great sign that what you're doing is right. So you can't read this, but you'll get it in the follow-up. And this basically just sort of has some advice for what to do when you're getting, high open rate, but a low click-through rate. Well, high open rate, great. You're doing some good stuff. Low click-through rate, we better have a stronger call to action, make it mobile friendly. If you have a low open rate, we might want to try sending an email newsletter out at a different time or posting at a different time. We want to look at your subject line. You're going to come to one of Doreen's sessions to learn how to write killer subject lines and put together a great email. But we'd look about, okay, this data is telling us how to make better decisions and what to do. So a couple words to the wise, beware the vanity stats like opens or reach. I talked about that. It's about engagement more so than open or just reach. Don't be afraid to start small. And again, you don't have to be doing this everywhere all the time, but look at your email. Actually look at your email results and see what was my open and click rate. And specifically, if I had 3 links, what did the most people click on? Okay. So that's it. Just looking at the numbers, I just think you don't have to like math, you don't have to like numbers to get a lot out of some very simple and easy reporting. And I think it's like a huge benefit of online marketing because it has that ROI piece, and you can see what's working and figure out, if I'm paying for this, I want to make sure it works. So that was it.
Wrap it up.
I think. Here's your 5 different marketing trends. I believe mobile beyond big data. And then here's resources. This one is an amazing resource. We do offer a free 60-day trial of Constant Contact. You'd want to go through Doreen to make sure she helps you get set up right. Anything else you wanted to? say or speak to?
No, I'm just, what I'll do is tomorrow I'll do a follow-up, and you will get this in a PDF format. So that you will get a follow-up email from me. And I'm here to help you if there's any questions that you have. That's what I'm doing. I hope that this was beneficial and that you'll consider the next one that we'll be doing, which I think is, do you have that? It's in front of me, but I think it's March 23rd. I'm sorry, I should have that too, and I don't. But
Are there
the
any
21st?
questions? Anyone have anything specific to there?
I would like.
21st?
Monday.
No, it's a Wednesday. We'll get it. Yeah, it's 23rd. Thank you.
Would that be possible to have a session for professional services, like
Sure.
a law firm or a management consulting
Mhm.
firm? I come to these workshops and I learned a lot, but I never take the step because
Yeah.
I feel my clients are so overwhelmed. Usually they are executives. I don't want to bother them more than I already do. So
right.
See if you have some.
Have you? But do you get that sense because they tell you that, or that's because you feel that way?
I feel.
So my thing would be I would validate that. I would try to validate that by maybe trying something different that you haven't done before.
It's like, when you get an email at 10 p.m. from a very busy VP of a big company, she's answering because she wants to answer to your email.
Yes.
But it's 10 p.m. on a weekday. So, the people that I relate to, I'm very careful in how I manage the relationship.
Yeah.
So that's why I don't take this step.
Yeah.
So I would think for you, like there must be articles you come across.
Yeah, that's what
that
Yes, I do.
that you think would be beneficial to your clients
There
or
was
potential
one today on
clients.
psychological safety in the workplace.
So there's so much awesome content.
You could become an expert, not an expert, but a go-to person in certain things, and they look for. Believe it or not, that they look forward to those emails.
So you share that article through your newsletter with the first, maybe you have your 2 sentences insight into it. Like, I read this article, I really think that third point is key. And whatever you want to add your own personal why it's valuable, or maybe you even help people save time. Say, if you struggle with X,
Yeah.
you need to look at this.
Okay.
And that way, if I don't struggle with that, you haven't wasted my time, right? And you have a good subject line that has to do with the article, I would be surprised if you got a lot of unsubscribes or pushback, especially if you're, those pain points, you must know those pain
Yes, I
points.
do.
So if you don't have to write the thing that solves the pain point that says hire me, but you keep finding, when you come across information, I think that would be really valuable. So food for thought, that would be my next step if I were you.
Can you switch it? Because I wanted to also, no, there's that one. Yeah, is there another one? Yeah, go back, I guess. The evaluation, if you could just go back to the last one.
geez.
Yeah, the back way.
How do I go back? I don't even know which way to point it.
Okay.
Oh, I think Ben's in there trying to help us out.
Okay. There's an evaluation too, and it's bit.ly, it's just bit.ly in my last name, and if you go there, I did an evaluation. I'd really like to have feedback.
Oh, there you go.
There I am, right there. And the other thing is if I can have that jar, has everybody put a business card in this, in here? Okay, so if you have one, put it in, because I'm going to do a raffle for you guys. And the other, did anybody come with a friend? Did anybody say, come on, I'm going to a session and I want to bring my friend? Did you? Okay, so you guys see me because I have a little present for you at the end, okay? All right, so what? No, that doesn't count. Okay, so you have to go put that in. I'd get up, but I can't. Thank you. Yeah, any other ones? Okay, and there's a couple more over there.
Here.
Thank you so much.
Okay, so you want to grab one out?
Sure. I'll let you grab one out.
Okay. Maria. Oh, okay. Great. So, Dunkin' Donuts. And I'll keep your card. Okay. Do one more. Oh, sorry. Robin. Come over here. There you go. Any other questions? Any comments, concerns? Would you come for another one? Good. So the last thing that I wanted to say is that if you heard anything or any comments from anyone, or you saw something or somebody said something that you may want to now get up and go to that person, right, and say, you said something really interesting and I can help you, or I have something that you may be interested in. I'd love for you to be able to do that now, right? So, so for example, just a little talk that we had about doing the pain points for you. So if there's anything that's something that was said that resonated with anyone and they want to connect, because what I'd really like to do the next few times that we're together is not just make it a workshop where we can get something, but we can support one another as business, Brookline businesses. So one of the things I'm going to be doing is collecting all your Twitter handles, and I can provide that to you. One of the things that I've talked about is when we're presenting something and we're throwing something out there on Twitter, are you out there enough that you're sharing that? So I make it a point, anything that the chamber sends me, I like it and I share it on Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn all the time.
Thank you.
I don't care what it is, because if she's successful, I'm going to be successful, we're all going to be successful. So if you're on social media and you're just worried about yourself, get off now, okay? Because that's not what it's about. It's about raising a community and sharing things for each other. So the next time you're out there, and if the first thing that I would ask you is to follow me and I will follow you. And you should follow each other. So when I send that out, we'll make a list of who the people were and start following each other and start supporting each other. Some people say, well, I'm not, why would I follow a men's clothing if I'm, in the women? Well, we all have brothers, we all have, husbands, boyfriends, why wouldn't we? So it's, so you just, think about that as you're looking at social media and stuff. Yeah.
I just want to say two things. One, there are people in this room who do already have some really awesome newsletters. I'm looking at you, Marcy and Sandy, because I look forward to your newsletter whenever it comes.
See, that's nice.
Are you talking about the hard copy, or we don't do that anymore? Now it's digital.
Well, I'll look digital. It's from the studio. And if you haven't discovered the studio, you gotta go to the studio.
It's great.
So there are people who have already started the process that we can all learn from each other.
Exactly.
And I don't want to let the evening go by without thanking you all for coming here. I really appreciate that you're here with each other, learning from one another, and especially learning from Heather and Doreen. Thank you so much for imparting all of this really helpful information.
It's our pleasure.
Most of us in the room have the tools. We just don't know exactly how to use the tools, and so this is really valuable. I also hope that you all will come back to more chamber events. We've got some great things lined up, including the March 23rd next installment of this workshop.
We'll be setting a marketing toolkit, so we'll be really looking at that and seeing what you're using in the toolkit, how we can use it better, and eventually what I'd really like to do is make them more interactive and hands-on, where we actually either bring situations and we can kind of talk about it. So someone comes up, maybe shows off their newsletter, so we can begin to do things like that as well. Yeah. All right, thank you very much. Thank you. And please do the evaluation, and I'll get that to you by the end of the day tomorrow.